welcome to Self-Improvement Atlas, the Personal Science Insights podcast by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. I'm your host, Aditi Kutty, and this is not your traditional podcast episode. Each week, we bring you insights and key practices by experts in the field of the element that we have to discuss for the day. But over the holidays and the New Year period, as everyone's trying to set new habits and soft, mini, or maybe even a hard reset on their lives, I decided to try one of the practices our experts have recommended. I decided to draw from episode 6, where I talked to Ryan Marinelli, a clinical exercise and science expert, who recommended setting an exercise schedule for yourself for the entire week and sticking to it. Now, what the exercise schedule needs to include is 150 to 300 minutes, I'm aiming for 150, of moderate to vigorous exercise. If it is vigorous exercise, you can move that down to 75 minutes. I'm not in the habit of exercising, so I'm going to avoid vigorous exercise as much as possible, but to challenge myself, I am going to try, and hopefully, if I practice this for a month, and if everything goes well, I might be able to set an exercise habit for myself and make exercise a priority. That was kind of the point of my discussion with Ryan when he was talking about why it was important to schedule exercises. It meant you were just making your health and your physical health a priority, which is something I'm not very good at. Now, Ryan's episode was about exercise in the context of mental health, and how exercise can be of great benefit to your mental health and your brain. I'm currently coming out of a depressive period myself. I deal with chronic depression, which I've been pretty open about on the show. I also have a bunch of other to be diagnosed things going on in my head. So I really want to see if this habit of exercising actually generates an improvement in the way my brain functions, because I know that I can have days, weeks, sometimes an entire month where I'm just not functioning very well. Now, that being said, I am coming off of a depressive period, so a lot of my systems that I would use to normally plan my day have kind of fallen apart. So I already suspect I'm going to struggle with trying to stick to my plans, because frankly I'm struggling to stick to any schedule at all. Ryan recommended planning your exercises around what you normally do and not really trying to make adjustments in your regular day to account for exercise, because if exercise or trying to exercise more is an inconvenience to you, you're less likely to do it. So I am scheduling my exercises around what my day usually is or when I'm healthy, but I'm going to be frank with you, the audience, I'm not very healthy right now, so we'll see how this goes, especially when I'm still in recovery mode, but that is the point. That is the whole point of the exercise. It is something he recommended for people who are dealing with mental health issues of their own, so let's see how it goes. So not the best start to this challenge today. I was meant to work out at 11 a.m. and I didn't get around to it until 5 p.m. That was mainly because I had a lot of really urgent morning tasks that I had to complete that I couldn't really push to later in the day. And then I set a tentative time for 3 p.m. and I didn't really get around to it until 5. I'm not pleased with it at the moment. Right now, I did get interrupted quite a bit at 5 p.m. because that's when people tend to come home, and that's when my dog gets really anxious as well. So I do tend to get interrupted, and I was really looking forward to some uninterrupted workout time. I don't think that's the time I'm going to get it. I also don't know how I'm going to be able to measure productivity because there's not that many hours in the day left. I am a night person naturally, so I do tend to work quite late into the night, or at least be creative in other ways late into the night. But I'm not sure I feel very good about doing it in the middle of my day. I think it feels like more of an interruption rather than something to get me going right now. The actual workout itself, I did Pilates, and I did a slightly more difficult version than what I normally do. I usually do a 15-minute beginner version of Pilates, and this time around I decided to actually apply myself and try something that was at the very least moderate or enough to work up a sweat. I didn't necessarily work up a sweat this time around, but I did find the exercise pretty difficult, and it wasn't always easy for me to complete all of the exercises. In terms of how I felt during the workout, I did a slightly more intense version of Pilates than I normally do. Normally I do a beginner version for 15 minutes, and I use it not so much as a fitness activity, but just as kind of a centering activity as well. But this one was slightly more moderate, I suppose. I was hoping to work up a sweat because I often do when I do Pilates, but I didn't really do that this time, and I'm not sure if I actually met the requirements of moderate to vigorous exercise with that one. I did find it very challenging. There were definitely, as you could see, some parts of the exercise that I wasn't able to complete, especially towards that 20-minute mark is when I started to find it really difficult. And that makes a lot of sense because I normally work out for about 20 minutes at a time and no more than that. My body feels really good though after it, as it often does after a session of Pilates. So that hasn't changed even though I couldn't complete it. It just feels a little weird again to be doing this in the middle of the day. In terms of how my brain feels, I don't really know where I stand with that right now. Because I'm doing it in the middle of the day and because I was interrupted towards the end, I think that kind of isolated, concentrated focus space for exercise was broken for me. And I also think the timing of the day, which is in between a lot of what I do, makes it really difficult for me to fully get the benefits of it. Because right now I just feel like I've interrupted something else to exercise instead of used it to set up or close off my day. So definitely timing is something that I'm going to change, and I'm going to stick to my 10 a.m. schedule for the rest of the week. And hopefully it'll work better, and hopefully I'll have more to report on next time. Day 4 today. I was meant to exercise on day 3 and take a break on day 4 because I had to rush off to work in the morning and I knew I wouldn't be able to work out before I left. But I didn't end up working out yesterday because I slept in till like 11:30. So we moved it to today, and I'm doing it after having come back from the studio and from work. Normally I would come home and still do more, so this would kind of have been a workout in the middle of my day, but I'm feeling really, really drowsy. So the workout that I was initially planning for today, which was a 15-minute intense HIIT, I don't think I have the energy for that right now. I am just gonna do the bike for 30 minutes like last time, and hopefully after that I'm gonna take a nap because I think I need it. I'm about 16 minutes in and I've realized that I'm actually feeling kind of bored. It's not so much that it's difficult. I could probably go for another 15. I worked up a sweat and I'm a little out of breath, but it doesn't really feel bad. I'm just feeling very bored. I noticed this on day 2 as well when I was doing the bikes. And I tried to make up for that by putting on like music that I know usually perks me up, but that didn't work either. So I'm gonna stop this here and I'm going to switch it up with a yoga practice. Be right back. Okay, I've moved my exercise bike out of the way and put my yoga mat down. My dog is right next to me, just out of camera, and he might just end up on the yoga mat. That happens a lot. So we'll see how this goes. I have decided to go with a 15-minute HIIT workout. I did look for it. There he is. I did look for a beginner-friendly workout, so that's hopefully slightly less low energy and it's no jumping. We'll see how this goes, but right now I just want to make my 30 minutes, and I think considering the way today has gone, I'm gonna have to be flexible. So I think something went wrong when I was filming my workout, so I don't think all of it got filmed, but I did do the entire 15-minute workout more or less. There were points where I couldn't actually follow along. It got too difficult for me, and I swapped for some similar-ish Pilates workouts that I'm familiar with. I don't know if they complete the same function, but it was the same kind of action of the body. I don't really know how to describe how I'm feeling right now. I do actually feel less drowsy than I did before I got on the bike, and I think it might be the effect of the exercise, but I don't think my brain is quite functioning yet, and I think that that's just going to take a little while to catch up, and I still think I need a nap. So I'm gonna go do that, and hopefully the next few days will be easier. In terms of the workout I just did, the HIIT, I don't actually think that that was beginner friendly, so I feel a bit defeated that I couldn't actually do it, but it wasn't boring, so maybe I might just attempt that once a week and then spend maybe 10 minutes on HIIT, 10 to 15 minutes, and then the rest of the time doing yoga or biking or aerobics. But I'm gonna stick to my exercise schedule for now that I've set out for the week and then reassess. Okay, so it's Sunday at the end of week 1, and something I realized I never did was set out exactly what my schedule was. I did have one, it seems like I didn't, but my intention was to exercise at 10 a.m. every morning and because my general sleep pattern is, when I'm healthy, is to sleep at 1 a.m. and wake up at 9 a.m. That's really late for a lot of people, but I set my own hours in my work, and I'm just not a morning person. I function best after lunch and into the evening. So the 10 a.m. exercise time is kind of time I like to spend a few hours waking up and kind of getting used to the day, so the exercise would have just been part of that. And it just means that if I've got any kind of housekeeping tasks, chores I need to get done, it's kind of hoping that, you know, the exercise would kind of fit into that. So ideally, it's the best time of day. And I split the 150 minutes up into 5 half-an-hour blocks, which was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I didn't succeed. And I kind of had a feeling I wouldn't succeed. I had a feeling my first week would be difficult. Because, like I said, I'm not in a habit of exercising, so keeping to any habit when you've just begun it can be really, really hard. But on top of that, I was coming out of a depressive period, so if I hadn't been, it might have been a lot easier, because it's just fitting right into a schedule that I was already keeping during the day, routines that I already had in place. But a lot of those schedules and routines and systems had just fallen apart, and that made it a lot harder. One of the things that kept holding me back was that I woke up too late. I slept in. I'm a university student, and usually I wake up on time, because I have way too much to do in my day to not wake up on time. But we're in summer in Australia right now, and I haven't had classes to worry about, or additional work, assignments, extracurriculars to think about. And I don't want to have that, but it also means that my brain has kind of gone, well, it's time to sleep in. So I was waking up at 10, 10:30, 11. On Wednesday, I woke up at noon, and I'm not proud of it. I also think one of the things that factored into that is that the depressive period I'm recovering from, I don't think that's over. So it's not been easy to push myself to exercise. The days I did exercise were Monday, Pilates. I did it, I felt pretty good. Tuesday, biking. I did it, I didn't really feel any difference after. It was kind of just like, well, I've done my little thing for the day, so that's over, but it was kind of boring. Wednesday, like I said, I woke up at noon and I just wasn't feeling it on Wednesday. I was just having a very bad Wednesday. So I decided to work out on Thursday, even though Thursday was my off day, technically. And that was fine. I was on the bike for a few minutes again. But I think what really did me dirty was I decided to stop halfway and try something a bit more vigorous, because I had intended on fitting something vigorous into my week. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have tried to attempt anything vigorous, especially considering I'm not in the habit of doing too much physical activity in the first place. Ryan was very adamant about saying that when you're beginning to get into the habit of exercising, you should start with things you enjoy, or at the very least combine the active exercise with the things you enjoy. And a vigorous YouTube routine was not it. So those three I captured on camera. I did exercise a fourth time off camera. I on Saturday, biked again for 15 minutes. Not 15, sorry. Half an hour. I got myself confused between Thursday and Saturday. I biked for 30 minutes on Saturday, just off camera, because I didn't really feel like filming myself that day. Again, I wasn't feeling very great. I was also in a rush. I had to head out to meet some friends that evening, so I kind of didn't want to be bogged down by my camera and filming and having to do reflections and getting delayed and all of that. Again, that time didn't feel any different to how it did on Tuesday. So those are my week's reflections. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it made me feel any better during the day. It was very difficult to measure. I'm not gonna be unreasonable. I do assume that these things will take time. I don't think that it's gonna happen magically or immediately, but I was expecting a certain amount of burst of energy after I started exercising. I felt that a little bit on Monday after I did Pilates, which is probably one of the exercises I most enjoy. But Pilates, I didn't work up a sweat, so I don't know if that counts. Yeah. I guess that's one of those things I just have to monitor for in the future, and maybe it's going to be easier for me to do that reflection when I'm not like sleeping in and I'm actually exercising at appropriate hours. You would have seen that I wasn't exactly doing it in the morning every single day. Certainly on Saturday it was right before lunch. So I guess not exactly a success, but I'm proud of myself for doing it 4 days a week. In my experience, the second day is always the hardest. Not second day. I'm gonna try that one again. Note for arrogant, that last kind of bit about in my experience or whatever. In my experience, having attempted to turn exercise into a habit and get better at it in the past, attempts at which I've always failed, I know that the second week is always going to be the hardest, mainly because I'm just kind of getting to the point where it feels like it's more of a pain than a benefit. So we're gonna see how week 2 goes. Not to mention, still dealing with a depressive episode. So I can't promise that things are gonna turn out perfectly, but we'll see. I really wish I could have filmed this vlog at a time I was feeling better, but maybe the point of this vlog is that no one's ever going to complete anything perfectly. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, this very special episode of Self-Improvement Atlas, and I can't wait for you to join me on the rest of my journey over the next few weeks.